Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Turn the Page podcast. I am so happy you are here. And today we are going to dive into something incredibly important to me. And for those of you who don't know, the month of May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And if you haven't guessed already, I believe that our mental health matters very significantly because I myself know what it feels like to live a life with your mental health as a dumpster fire because I lived that way for many, many years. And so as we dive in to this subject, I want to approach it not because it's a trendy topic or something that's floating around on social media right now, but like I said, because I've lived it and I know what it feels like to be in that hopeless place, but I also now know what it feels like to be really on the other side of it. Not necessarily saying that I don't still struggle, because I do, because I'm human and because this life is ever evolving and you never know what's going to happen when you wake up in the morning and what your mind is going to try and tell you about who you are or about the life that you are choosing to live. But like I said, thankfully, I have come a very long way through a lot of very intentional work. And so I'm just grateful that these conversations are becoming such a regular part of our everyday life. When I was a kid, when I was growing up, nobody talked about anxiety or depression or boundaries and emotional intelligence or how to regulate your nervous system. And these things have become so much more common in our everyday lives, which I believe is such a beautiful thing and something that is truly changing the world. Therapy used to be such a stigma, and now it's this beautiful tool, no matter what form in which you lean into it, that so many people are utilizing to help themselves live a better life. And I am just so proud of us as humans that we are opening our hearts and opening our minds to do things a little bit differently, and that we don't feel trapped by the stigmas that used to exist. They still exist in some capacity, but maybe have just gotten a little bit smaller. And I know that for so many of us, before, when we were younger, when we felt this heaviness around our mental health or really thinking that we needed someone to talk to, it didn't feel as accepted. And so with that, so many of us shoved down our feelings and we slapped on a smile and just kept moving, rubbed some dirt on it and all of that. But like I said, I fully believe things are shifting. Yes, it can absolutely still feel extremely messy out there in the world, but I genuinely believe that as a collective, our consciousness is rising. I see it in my own life, in my kids, my friendships, in my community. I see it in the brighter corners of social media, on podcasts like this one, in books, conversations on TV shows and movies. And so as we see this grow and expand in our world and in our lives, it just gives me this deep sense of hope. And so, like I said, today I want to share with you a few of the most powerful golden nuggets that I have learned as I've navigated this journey, the things that have helped me in the most profound ways care for my mental health that I still have to remind myself of on a daily basis. And yeah, these are just truths that I have picked up that have helped me, that have been guiding posts for me, sometimes the hard way, but I hope that they speak to you too. So, without further ado, let's dive in. All right. Number 1, you are never too old and it's never too late. We have all heard that tired saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, I call bullshit because you can learn and you can grow. You just have to want to. I know. Why does it always have to come back to us? Well, damn it, that self-awareness can be a real bitch sometimes. But there was a time in my life when I didn't believe that I was so deep in survival mode that I couldn't imagine another way of living. And honestly, I didn't know who I'd be without the stress. Sometimes I still don't. Sometimes I still slide back into that survival mode because it's so much more comfortable because it was what I was used to for such an extended period of time in my life. And so being in that space of neutrality or thriving without chaos surrounding me can almost feel strange sometimes. When calm begins to feel foreign and uncomfortable, then we don't feel like that's right either. But what happens is that we just have to shift our patterns. We just have to shift our perspective. We just have to be able to realize and witness how significantly and how deeply we were in survival mode and having the self awareness that, yeah, calm might not feel comfortable right at first or right at the beginning, but once you can start to lean into it and tap into it more and more and more, then that begins to feel like your new normal. And when we live for so long in a state of survival, we become accustomed to that frantic energy. And that feels like, gosh, it feels like a hit of caffeine and what gets us up in the morning. But how nice would it be is if we could wake up with this sense of peace, with this sense of calm, with that frantic energy being saved for times when we really are in extreme distress. And I think it speaks to how dysregulated so many of our nervous systems are and how imbalanced our hormones are. Our flight, fight, or freeze modes really are meant for when we're in extreme life circumstances, like being chased by a bear, or in my case, finding a snake in your backyard. I haven't done that, and I'm not putting that out into the universe, but I'm just saying, as an example, that is when we are meant to be in that frantic state, not every single day. And the world isn't going to change that for us. We have to be the one to choose to change it. And where does that start? That feeling and the comfort in a constant state of stress is part of what we have to unlearn. So if you think you can't learn anything new, maybe you can try and unlearn something old that is no longer serving you. If you're hearing me talk about all of this and you resonate with that feeling, I want to tell you, wanting to change is the first step. Honestly, it may be the most powerful because just being open to possibility is huge. And that's what it looks like to put faith into practice, not just talking about it, but living it and believing that things can actually be different, that this life wasn't built to survive. This life wasn't built to survive. This life was built for us to thrive in. So maybe just today, or every day if you want to get crazy, say it out loud, or just in your heart, in your prayer, or scream it in your car. It is not too late. I am not too old. My life can change if I choose it. Okay. Number 2, get ready, buckle up, because most of you have probably heard this, and most of you are probably not going to like it, because I didn't like it the first time that I heard it. But other people's opinions of you are none of your business. Yeah. I know, easier said than done, but it's one of the most freeing truths that I have ever embraced. Coming from a woman who got pregnant at 19, not married, then got married, then got divorced, then got married again, and then got divorced again. Other people's opinions got really big and really loud in the choices and the changes that were happening in my life. And so without this truth, I probably would not have survived it. When you live your life based on what other people might think, you lose yourself in the process. You stop choosing for you and start molding your life around other people's expectations. And I know for a fact my own expectations are hard enough to live up to, let alone adding the pressure of other people's expectations, which I did for the majority of my middle school, teen, and 20 years. But when you base your actions, expressions, and choices on how it will affect the people in your life or how those may choose to view it, it's exhausting and it keeps you small. And honestly, it keeps you bitter underneath the surface and resentful and as if you're never good enough because you're not chasing the things that light you up. You're chasing the things that are going to light the person next to you up. And that's no way to live your life. When I did it, it didn't matter if it was the effort I put into my appearance, how I looked in a photo that was taken, what I said, how much I talked, a stupid joke I told. The list went on forever in the micro ways that I existed in the world. But my fear of other people's opinions would send me spiraling constantly over everything. And to be honest, these were things that the other person probably didn't think twice about because they were too busy worrying about how they were being perceived by everybody else. So it not only pulled me out of alignment with who I truly am, but it made me anxious. It made me irritated and it made me overwhelmed with shame. And so when I started questioning why I gave so much weight to those opinions, everything shifted. It started when I read the book Untamed by Glennon Doyle, which I highly, highly recommend. And it continued to make an impact on my life with the healers I worked with and the internal work that I made a priority. I had to remind myself regularly, write it in my journal, say it in my head, say it in the mirror, or to a picture of myself as a little kid. These people's opinions of you are none of your business. Do you like you? Do you love you? Are you happy with how you showed up in these circumstances? And were you authentic to who you are? Because that is what matters. And so now, instead of wondering, what will they think? I ask, how do I feel? And so if you struggle with this, I want you to ask yourself these 3 questions the next time you feel trapped by someone's opinion. Do we share the same values? Do they live a life that I'd want to live? And do I like the way I feel when I'm around them? If the answer is no, release it. Let it go. Their opinion doesn't belong in your decision-making process. Life is too freaking short to be dictated by other people's opinions of you. Your happiness does not exist at the hands of another. It lives right here inside of you. And so take your power back and stop allowing others to dictate how you live your life. Because at the end of the day, you are the one who has to like who you see when you look in the mirror. Okay, number 3, you deserve to take up space in your life. And this one is very specific for all the moms out there, all the women, all of the people who have kept themselves small in their life. Because yes, I get it. Life is busy. There is no getting around that. I am a single mother of 2 kids who are extremely active and social. While I also have a beautiful group of my own friends and a very big family and a career and multiple passion projects. But whether you're parenting, working, navigating relationships, or just trying to literally keep your head above water, things move fast. The days may seem long, but the years are so short. And this is what I know, and this is what I have learned. What you give your energy to grows exponentially. And so if you are investing your energy in the shoulds and coulds and can'ts and I don't have enough time, that is going to continue to grow. But if you invest your energy in yourself just a little, you are going to feel the ripple effect of that in every single part of your life. And it doesn't have to be big. It's possibly as simple, not easy, but as simple as saying no to something that drains you or that you truly don't have the capacity for in your life. You know the thing, the one you're asked to do, and your body screams that you can't, that you don't have the capacity, that you're barely hanging on by a thread. But that people pleaser on your shoulder whispers that you'll feel guilty if you say no. Yeah, that thing. And I want to tell you a little quick story that I learned about guilt through some video that I watched online. And I wish that I could give credit to who credit is due, but I cannot remember where I heard this, but it stuck with me. When we feel guilty, quote unquote, guilty, most of the time, it's not actually us feeling the emotion of guilt. What it is that we are choosing to process the emotions of the person that in a situation like this, we could be saying no to. And when I heard that, it made so much sense to me. And do you want to know why? Because I have spent my life feeling perpetually guilty. And it wasn't because I was actually feeling guilty. It was most of the time in circumstances where I was standing up for myself and for my truth. And I was choosing to process the other person's emotions that my truth was making uncomfortable. So, that all being said, these are the things that you can gift to yourself by saying no to. Because I promise the world isn't going to come crashing down around you. It's still going to keep spinning. And the person or the thing you're saying no to is probably still going to work out just fine. But if that feels like too big of a hurdle, maybe we're going to start a little slower. And that's just enjoying your coffee in the morning in silence, or creating a tiny morning ritual just for you. Maybe you start to implement it every day or only once a week. Every little bit matters because you don't need permission to prioritize yourself. You are allowed to care for yourself because you can't pour into others if you haven't poured into yourself first. We've all heard it. You can't pour from an empty cup. So why do we still continue to believe that it's possible? We have to take the time to take up space in our own life, because if we want to feel seen or heard or loved, we have to start seeing and hearing and loving ourselves first. No one else can do that for us. And at the end of the day, the three things that we don't get back in this life is our time, our love, and our energy. And so even if it's just for 5 minutes a day, we need to give those three things to ourselves. So start small, start big, just freaking start. Take up space in your own life. All right. Next, healing doesn't happen overnight. And yes, let me tell you, we are 4 years into this journey, and I wish that this wasn't true. But again, I have to remind myself regularly, and that's why I'm sharing it here with all of you. There's no magic finish line. Life is a mystery that's meant to unfold. It's not a destination that we're here to race towards. And healing is not linear. It's not about becoming some perfect version of yourself. That doesn't exist because we're human and because how fucking boring. But it's about embracing the process of becoming who you are meant to become in this life, to evolve, to grow. You are not a project that needs to be fixed. That's a realization that I had to come to in my life because let me tell you, I love to look at everything and everyone as a project, me being the biggest one in my life. But we're not projects that need to be fixed. We are humans that are learning to exist in this crazy world so that we can leave it a little bit better than we found it. And so we have no other choice if we want to survive this experience with as much sanity and love and peace and joy as possible. We have to surrender to the madness, and we have to recognize how far we've come, and we have to celebrate ourselves, and we have to stop being so damn hard on who we are and who we're meant to be, because it's going to be very different than the person next to us and to our kids and to our parents. And that's okay. That is the way that it was meant. We chose this life and these people so that we could grow and we can evolve and we could become who we were meant to be. And I have to tell myself that regularly because life will throw you curveballs. I mean, how cliche, but it's true. You're not always going to get it right. You're not meant to. The point is not perfection. It's peace. It's progress. It's the micro moments that you can find yourself completely and unconditionally present in who you are and where you are. And we have to learn to lean into life instead of constantly trying to control it, because nothing is ever going to be 100% right. And when you can embrace that, you give yourself the grace to continue along the healing journey, to continue to learn, to continue to grow, to continue to evolve. And then you can just find an underlying form of acceptance for everything that takes place along the journey. It doesn't mean that it's going to be easy, but it can be everything it's meant to become. Give yourself grace, one step at a time, one day at a time. Learn to surrender. Trust that even when you don't feel it, something beautiful is unfolding behind the scenes, because we are meant to show up and co-create our life with God and the universe. We're not meant to be in the driver's seat all of the time. And now, next, we have acknowledging your emotions sets you free. Say it with me. Self-awareness is everything. Because it is the starting point. It's the starting point of healing. It's the starting point of growth. It's the starting point of peace. It's the starting point of raising the consciousness of this planet and this collective. Because we all have shadows. We all have tough emotions. Pretending we don't, that just lets them fester and control us in sneaky ways subconsciously. But when you face them, when you name them, they begin to lose their power. Why? Because you become aware of them and you are no longer oblivious or mindless to the control they have over your actions and reactions. Yeah, does that mean that I'm not reactive? Absolutely not. I am still reactive. There's times where I'm so reactive, it makes me sick. But I have enough self-awareness that I can see it, acknowledge it, understand where it came from, and then if needed, apologize for it. And that goes a lot further than what you could ever imagine. And you get to shift out of living from the ego and into living from your heart. Sometimes that's a constant battle. Sometimes that takes more work than others on certain days. But when you shame yourself for having those negative thoughts or hard emotions, it just only allows them to grow and gives them more power. But when you give them space to breathe, they can dissolve that much faster. Avoidance doesn't make your emotions disappear. It just forces them to show up sideways or in different ways as disease, dis-ease in the body, no matter what that may be, whether it's the flu or a sinus infection or cancers and autoimmune conditions. Our emotions can be powerful. And when you avoid them, you only give their power more strength. So you have to give yourself the space to feel, to cry, to be angry, to be real with yourself. You don't have to get on a podcast with a microphone and share it with the world. But if you just become willing to witness it yourself, I promise you, your emotions don't make you weak. Processing them only makes you stronger, because the only way out is through. Last but not least, your mental health matters every single day. Just like your physical health, your mental, emotional, and spiritual wellness deserves your care and attention. You can't live a life you love while ignoring the shit that's going on in your mind, because it is the background noise of your day-to-day life. So if you don't have any awareness to what it's telling you, or you only hand it the microphone and let it scream at the top of its lungs, constantly hearing the negative, constantly giving it the power to dictate your life, you're never going to get to where you want to go. I promise you. And you deserve to get to where you want to go, because you deserve to live a life that you love. You deserve to be able to show up and know that you have purpose, even if it's just being a bright, shining light in this world. Doesn't have to make the largest impact, but that ripple effect will go so much further than what you could ever imagine. But you have to be willing to give yourself the space to be human and the space to be the beautiful, unique creature that you are. And so I just ask you today, if you're listening to this, take the tiny steps. Journal, pray, book the therapy session, call a friend, sit barefoot in the grass and look up at the sky. It's those small, sacred moments that create big, lasting change in this life. You weren't meant to just survive. You are absolutely meant to thrive. And before I go, I want to shout out to one of my favorite brands doing absolutely amazing things for mental health, Find the Good. And I don't necessarily just recommend you going and shopping from their small business, but I highly recommend subscribing to their newsletter. It is a beautiful newsletter that comes out every single Friday with these beautiful stories of how people have found the good in the world and what they're trying to do and create with this small business, but with big heart. And their apparel is absolutely adorable. And for every order that's placed, 10% of their proceeds go to Mental Health America. So follow them on social media, check them out. And if you feel called to purchase something, you can use the code TURNTHEPAIGE, all caps, and Paige as in my name, Paige, for 10% off your first order. So, in their words, find the good. It's everywhere, even when it's hard to see, and especially when you don't think there is any, because I promise you, you can find it. You just have to look for it. All right, guys. I want to leave you with one last little glimmer of golden nugget. My all-time favorite quote, and one that I come back to often, is from Maya Angelou. Do the best you can until you know better. Then, when you know better, do better. It's 2025. We know better. And now we get to do better for ourselves, for our kids, and for this beautiful, messy world. And when you choose to show up for you, you give permission to others to do the same. So let's keep choosing ourselves. Let's keep healing, growing, and learning one day at a time. And if this episode spoke to you, it would truly mean the world to me if you left a review or shared it with someone who needs to hear it, because that's why I show up on this podcast and that's why I do this work, is because I want what I've been through to be with purpose and to be of service, not only to my life and the people in it, but to others. So I'd love for you to come hang out with me on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok at Turn the Page Podcast. Send me a DM. Let me know which one of these episodes or which one of these golden nuggets really stuck out to you. I love you guys so much, and I will see you next time.